and then do screenshots, and then that way just make markings and then teach them. But of course, with the technology, you can always help them from the back end when you're bugging them too much. For most of the people in gated estates that can afford to use all of these services, a lot of them, well, even if they are not tech savvy, they're kind of not what's the word now, they're kind of people that will be able, they understand, they're learned, and they're educated, so yes, they can relate with it. But getting them to use it, yes, there are some people that will just say, look, please, I don't like this VENCO, give me an account number. I won't give you an account number. I'll say use the virtual account on your VENCO app. How do I get it? Someone will ask you this question a million times, but if you're patient, after a while, they just get used to it and know that there's no other way. So we insist, and then we're patient, and then we make sure that there's customer service to walk them through from end to end.
Customer service has to be on point. So yes. Mayowa, could you please give us some insight on that? How are you managing adoption in your community?
Adoption is a mixed bag. As we all know, not everybody welcomes change. And for some people, especially the more compact communities, they just feel the phone call model, for example, for access control works.
Sure.
And you have to manage the stakeholder. That, in the end, is the client.
Sure.
So we've had some locations where adoption has been very quick, as you know, and we've also had some where it's just a difficult conversation. We've sat with them. We've agreed timelines where we would disable, for example, telephone access, and the same clients will call you that day and say, okay, leave it for another week or thereabouts. So the stakeholder engagement is important. It's easier, I think, when technology is introduced right at the start of the operations in a new location, for example. So you meet it there, so you can't fight against it.
Sure.
But at times, introducing it into an existing system can be tricky.
Sure.
That's been our experience.
Okay, so staying with you on that, so you use VENCO on your estates, and as an administrator transitioning into this, how has it been? What's the experience like for you or your facility managers or your team? Was it easy to adopt? How did they feel? What was there, or was there any challenge they faced?
Okay, with VENCO, the transition process is pretty straightforward. You guys have your systems and processes in place.
Yeah.
The virtual training works easily. The support team are there, and the refresher sessions for anybody who gets stuck. VENCO is happy to do that. They don't charge us yet for those. We'll see how that goes. But so far, got the support from the back end with setting up and activating locations. The smooth process.
Thank you for that feedback. Tony, do you have a feedback in terms of adoption by your administrators and also by your residents? How do you manage all that?
Okay, so I'll say for my team, adopting VENCO is pretty easy because we've been with them for some time since the web version. It's pretty easy for them to use. Like Mayowa said, the virtual trainings are there. In short, right now, once we're onboarding any estate, they don't even train us anymore.
They gurus already now.
You guys just go ahead. So adoption has been okay. Then for the residents, like for new estates, because you are meeting the technology there, you can't do anything about it. Yeah, but for like older estates, you have people, we go back and forth, so you talk to the estate chairman, they'll say, okay, we have some people, but over time, we've had good adoption, especially in estates that are very, very, very new. If you don't want to use it, and you call and nobody's answering you to buy power, you have to use it. So adoption has been great in our estates.
Yeah, so I know Mayowa mentioned earlier about the diesel price hikes, service charge. Of course, it impacts service charge, it impacts a lot of things in the estate, and also having to manage people bulk buying energy when they suspect that you want to increase tariff. How do you manage all this with residents without pissing them off?
Okay, like I will always say, the data is there and you put it in the hands of the residents, and everybody can drive around and they all know the price of diesel. So if I tell you I'm buying diesel at this particular amount, and this is the consumption. You can see it. We all sit down at the end of the day and say, okay, what is this amount supposed to be? We do our calculation as facility managers. The ESCOs can also do their calculation. We come together to them and say, okay, this is the price of you calculate yours. So that's how we've been able to manage, because we have data.
Yeah.
So, and they have the same data we have. They can
Of
say,
course.
export this data and send to us. We export, we send to them. They do their we do ours, and
Yeah.
we all. So it's not like those days when you don't have data. You will say no, this you be speculating. No, so yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
how we've been able to manage it.
that's great. So let me come to Shide.
Yeah, so I mean, as we all know, diesel is going up now. So where is it now? 1,000 and it's like $1, right? $1 a liter. Yeah, thereabouts. Okay. Where do you? I mean, we've been speculating internally at VENCO at, what is the breaking point? How high does this thing have to go before there is a fundamental rethink and restructuring about how power is provided in a lot of these communities? Because the basic premise of many of these communities is 247 power. We know that when there was the slight jump last year, many of them retreated from that, and all of that. But is it sustainable, and how are you guys thinking about, should this thing, what in a world where there's a 1,500 naira, God forbid, right? But in a world where there's a 1,500 naira liter per liter cost of diesel, how do you think that impacts business, and what are you, how are you thinking about reacting to that? What kind of advice are you looking at providing to these communities and everything? I think Mara wants to say something, and then I'll give it to you.
Okay, it's an active challenge which has been ongoing for close to 2 years. If you remember, December 2023 now, December 21, diesel was at like 280, and by end of January it was at 700. So this crazy spike has happened. This trend has happened before. Depending on the profile and financial capacity of your communities, some tough decisions are made. Right, we've had a lot of communities scale down the running hours of the gen. It's simply that you scale it down. We've had those who, as a group, have the older communities who have levied particular things off the generator and make them off grid. There are borehole pumps, security lights, and also if you're scaling down running hours, it does not impact service delivery. It's going to happen again. So there's really no breaking point per se. You just keep adapting. I had one estate which I thought was funny, and they had a family meeting and they agreed we're not using this gen again. And the gen is there now. It's just a nice landscaping item. Everybody is on solar. Right? They agreed no private generators, but we will not use this gen again. So there will be that evolution to green energy. People are trying to look at gas, but the issue with gas, it's for scale. You bring gas to an estate with 80 houses. It doesn't work. You need to start looking in the mid hundreds before gas is sustainable, and then you have to look at access to sourcing the gas. It's one thing to have local storage for gas, but the day there's a strike or something and you run out, so if you don't have piped gas, you really can't have that sustainability. So there's no sweet solution. Again, it's the data and the reality. This is what diesel costs. Are you able and willing to pay for it? One of the challenges we also had in some communities is because we with a tariff-based model for backup power, right? We isolate the grid supply from backup power, so it's a dual tariff, and you have people knowing when it's on gen and powering down devices. So losses. Again, you're back and it's a back and forth. You're constantly monitoring and seeing what's happening, then getting back to the client that we have to adjust this levy or this or that. It's jumped to 1,000 now. I've not even bothered having a conversation anywhere. It's painful. Even with the data, they would fight it. They would try and rationalize it, or they now tell you, give us a month to think about it, and they try and stockpile data, which is why we've been capping. So they try and stockpile units, and push time politically. So it's a cat and mouse thing with it. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Trudy. So, like you said, we just have to keep adapting. There is and looking for other sources of power, alternative sources of power, especially green energy. But for if you don't have big estates, you can't really, the residents can't really pay for that. So it's just to adapt. Some of our estates we've had to reduce running hours. We have to downsize the capacity of the generator. Yeah, so that's it.
Okay, one thing that seemed to work is proper stakeholder engagement. Although, like he said, sometimes they just pretend like they don't know, they try to stockpile. We sort of use that capping method. Yet, engaging with them on and on and on, you know. Everybody, okay, so on Saturday we had a meeting and someone said, look, everything keeps changing. I didn't plan for this, I didn't plan for this. And then I look at him, I said, Mr. F.I., did we all plan for this hike in fuel and diesel? And then he goes, no, I understand, but you know, so we're working around the hours, we're working around, okay, so what do we do? Of course, going green, trying to take things off of the diesel consumption, it's not been easy because even the solar has its cost implications. You know, the initial outlay is actually hefty. So yeah, so those are the options. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I see that your work is really not easy. I know managing people on its own is not easy. So well done on that. But there's this, so due to these issues we talked about, we note it's possible that people start, there's all this thing about energy theft. And because people find a way to bypass, and the good thing with our system is, of course, that can't happen. So when you notice, and I know for some estates, they have fines. So once you're caught, or if maybe you bypassed your meter, or our meter, at least VENCO meters have tamper, they go into tamper modes and all that. What do you do? How do you manage this? Is it something that is rampant now? Is it a growing trend, or people are just adapting or managing their cost?
Simple. We find you painfully. If you're fined $500,000 and the rest of the community hears, nobody will try it again. You know, we really don't have the energy to be chasing people every day and discussing why did you bypass. So sadly, we don't have enough people. I mean, the revenue from the fining is very useful, but let's say we have less than 3 offenders across like 20-something estates in a year. So it's not that bad. I mean, they know how much it is. So you're going to speak all you want. When you need your power back, come and pay up. So that's just
So when they are fined, we actually keep them disconnected. So they find out that they are running or just they're disconnected, so they have to pay the fine. And then we do our regular checks. For our team, what we've done is regularly you can actually generate a tamper code from the app. So what we did is for the team, the facility managers on site cannot generate the tamper code. So when there's a tamper code, you know there's a big deal. Although there are other reasons why a meter would go into tamper mode when there's power surge. In fact, there was one time I just got a call that there was a meter in tamper mode, and then we want to clear it. What's the issue? I told them, go and drill down. It just doesn't happen. If there's a power surge, then it will probably affect more than 1 meter, but this is 1 meter. Then we found out that resident's armored cable from the mains was already bad. It was blowing up their systems. I said, okay, so that's what caused it. So usually before the back-end team who give approvals generate a tamper code, you need to explain properly why that meter went into tamper mode. And if it's sometimes they bring an electrician, they want to connect a generator, which they're not supposed to, and of course the meter enters tamper code, and then into the tamper mode, and then so it's just like a check. And yes, like you said, a lot of them in those estates will generally not try to bypass because there are fines attached to it.
Okay. I think this question is for Trudy. So what part do you think VENCO plays in all of this, having listened to all our panelists?
Okay, before I answer that question, I mean, I just think it's quite interesting how the energy situation in Nigeria has turned facilities managers to energy professionals. right? So they can tell you everything about current times resistor voltage is equal to power, all of these things. So is I mean, it's funny, but it's a serious situation as well. And it then tends sometimes to feel like that is the core thing that facilities managers and facilities management becomes about in the environment. But there's so much more to it, and it's one of the things that I think I try to address in the keynote, and also I think we should talk about one way or the other. But generally speaking, I'm the choir, so I already have my opinions as to how VENCO is improving things in these communities and everything. For me, the issue of what VENCO is as we say, is an operating system for the community. So many times the focus seems to be, okay, my difficulties in collections, my difficulties in utility bending is around power, right? But we forget that these are communities, these are places where people are living, right? And that there are so many other ways to not just improve our processes, but also to improve the life of the tenants and the residents in that community, which is a big part of what we are trying to build out. For example, with our other community focused solutions, with the marketplace thing, with the group buying, with the shared economy, solutions and everything. And if you think about them, they are not a far stretch. It's not difficult to see how, if executed properly, the community will then start to see the role of the FM and the platform as not just one that brings them into compliance for collections, but is also adding value, to their lives in terms of benefits, that they can gain, and I had a conversation with someone here over lunch where we are talking or trying to define what a community is. Many people think that we are focused purely on gated communities, right? I think the MC even alluded to it, where the interesting thing is that we have villages that use VENCO, yeah, in places like in Ekiti, in Ondo states, and all of that. So it's a community solution. The truth is that when you bring people together like that, right, and you have technology that is accessible to them, whether it's on a mobile phone or whether it's just using USSD to interact and all of that, there are many opportunities to make the life of the operator of the community easier, but also the life of the residents there easier. The obvious ones we've done already are ease of accessing energy. So if you run out of power at 2 a.m. in the morning, right, you don't need to wait in darkness till somebody resumes in an office the next day. That's obvious, right? But the harder things, which is where value is, if you can crack them, is if you've gathered all these people together, and there are common needs that they have, how can you bring down the cost of those needs that they're always going to get? I can bet you that if that is executed well, people will start to look at this solution. In fact, individual residents will start to ask their communities to onboard them, because it may be the difference between me buying, my household spend being, dropping by 15%, 10%, if you can aggregate all of these needs. And in other climes, we already see, a lot of, that type of use for that, where people are aggregating demand for different types of solutions, different types of consumption and needs that they have. So for me, the positioning of VENCO is we're only going deeper and deeper into making sure that we help communities to maximize their full potential, and beyond being looked at as a tool for just administration of a community, it should also be looked at as a tool that communities can use to create more value for themselves, and also to empower the service providers and businesses around them, through our marketplace place, through the shared economy, through embedded insurance. I mean, a question I always ask, for those of us here who live in these communities, gated or not, right, how many of us have insurance for our properties? Like household insurance? Show of hands. Now, if I ask, so it's almost no one. Yeah, well, I have. Okay, so the question is, why is it? Don't we believe in insurance? A lot of us believe in insurance because when those risks precipitate, it can be a big hit. But the thing is that a lot of people don't. It's out of the way. Life in Nigeria, in Africa, is tough enough already. So if it's not, if something has not happened to you recently, right, you are not going to prioritize it. But I had my neighbor's TV broken by one of my kids about 2 years ago. I had to replace that TV, so now I really understand the value of insurance, right? So he insures his stuff and I insure my stuff, as well. Now, if you were in a community that used VENCO, and one of the options there was that rather than pay out one massive premium, every month or annually, you had the option from your wallet to, for example, draw down a small premium every month automatically without you having to really think about it. But you are sure and you are safeguarded that if something were to happen, then those items within your house or maybe even your vehicle outside your house would be insured. I suspect that many of us would sign up to stuff like that. That is one of the kind of many instances of benefits that you can have when you have a digital platform operating in a community and in a and in the households within that community. The residents in that community can create much more value and protection. What is at play today. So hopefully that was a good if long answer.
All right, thank you. And this is the final question. This is for all our panelists. So this is asking, since you are all facility managers and companies, are there other areas you think technology could help? So maybe as VENCO, as your partner, we could look into it to help enhance your work and living experiences for your customers.
VENCO, Trudy has spoken a bit about the various things he's doing, and there's some he hasn't touched on. So this kind of request tends to be a bit infinite. I think with the help desk support, maybe it could be more robust regarding most products in the market. It's not even about VENCO right now. Very critical to be able to track a fault or a claim, a complaint right from initiation to having a truly effective way of allocating, delegating, tracking it, and closing, right? And also verifying that job done well. We have tried many systems over time, even in-house, but they all still struggle at some stage or the other. There's nothing I hate more than being told by the client or third party about an incident and it's nowhere on our books, and when you go back it's because yes, it was critical and they've done it, it's fixed, client is happy, and you're being told it was an emergency so we didn't get around to it. I don't have an answer to how, because there's a human element to that as well. This guy has a phase failure now, he needs power, there was a fire. I'm not going to say, oh God, log this issue before you go and kill the fire. You understand? So I don't know if it's something technology can fully sort out, but it's we still have that gap at times.
Okay, for me, I'm wondering if there's a way we could have AI infused with VENCO. Like as facility managers, you get a lot of calls. Those calls on my facility managers can be a bit, and people are asking the same questions over and over and over again. So if there was like a place where on the app you could just say, okay, so I want to buy power, and then it's saying click this, press this, please this, and then they're saying, okay, so you have, because some of the issues they have with just a little bit of research, or maybe if you had listened the last time, sometimes there's this VENCO onboarding video. I we send them the video, and then I still can't do it, you know. So if there was a way that we could have some for those generic things, you know, of course we'll sit together and try to set it up. But if we have those generic questions like, how do I load power, and then it's saying click here, okay, if we could do that, well, perhaps, you know, those so then we're left to deal with the issues that are really thorny. Like, okay, so someone came in and then he said, look, I moved in half month in June, you can't bill me for the full month, you know. Then of course you go to the back end, you raise entries. Those are real issues to deal with, because they but all those generic issues, how do I load power, how do I do this, how do I access this, sometimes it can really be tiring. So if you can have something to, there are videos, though, they just don't watch those videos. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Well, we are working on this. So I don't know, are you familiar with the VENCO bot? So there's a WhatsApp number that you can chat with now, right? So it's a work in progress, but a number of people are already using it. So today, what happens is that it will take you through a menu, an IVR menu. But it's interesting, there's nothing you can do that appeals to the generality of people, because that same bot, I've had, in fact, two funny stories. So I've had one where there are some people, they just want to call someone and rant, right? So they want to call, so even if you give them a WhatsApp bot, it's not giving them that feeling that they are pushing that, you know, stress to somebody else. So number one. Number two, I was talking to a customer last week. So she had called me to ask about something around meters or something, and I was telling her this, how we have this bot, and you know, in fact we started incorporating AI. So that bot, when you create an issue on it, when it has a conversation with you, and then it creates an issue on our backend system, the way that it summarizes, so it creates a summary of that issue. We are using AI to get that summary. And what we want to do is expand that more and more over time, so that, as you know, like you're saying, you can just ask natural language questions. Because what we've also seen is that going through a menu for some people is disconcerting, right? So maybe we can improve it to make natural language questions. But funny thing is that I was telling this lady about it. I said, AI, no, I don't want to do anything with AI at all, because for her, AI is some strange, is near witchcraft. So you understand. So again, you have to manage a number of these things. Of course, we are not going to publish and say that we are using AI here. You will just feel that you are talking to someone, you know, and you're getting back a natural response. But yeah, so that point is taken, and we're actually working on it. So if you are not familiar with the bot yet, we'll make sure that someone,
Okay, so I use the bot. I don't have a problem with AI. But one day I got really upset because I'll just get a message, I'm going to close your ticket now. And why are you closing my ticket? The issue is not solved. I was upset because I had a resident that was waiting. There was an issue that I checked the back end and all of that. So why, in fact, I said, why are you closing my ticket? So I think, yes, I use the bot often, because I actually like it, the menu. And then when it gets to a point, I think there's always a response and says, how about you send the screenshot? Well, please, they should not close my ticket again.
All right, noted. It's me. So.
Okay, thank you very much. So areas of improvements. I like the fact that the wallet is out, is here. It has taken so long because of the 100 naira they always complain about to us. It's taking so long. But what I also like to see is reporting dashboard to the residents, the users. You can generate the reports right now with your vehicle, but it has a lot of numbers, what you spend, what's the remote orders and all coming to you. But when it comes like a dashboard, I can just easily look at it. For me, on my own admin end, I can export my data and plot what I want to plot, but the user should be able to see. They can appreciate it. So this month, as in you do a comparative analysis for them, for different months, and for them to know that, okay, this is the end of the year, this is what you spent on power, this is, I think it will be good for them to see. Yeah. The residents, yes, I think that works.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that. So I think we have something like that for the admins. Yeah. So I think over time we will extend it. The thing is, again, we need to be careful and we need to follow your lead, because there can be scenarios where pushing that information directly to residents will cause problems for you, right? So that's why the default approach that we've taken now is send it to the facility managers, and if they want to, they can push that on to the residents. And it's causing problems for you, not because any funny thing is happening in the background, but because they don't have context. And before you share that information, it's usually good to share the context, or share it along with the context, and also understanding that different sets of people have different understand things differently.
Yeah.
So but again, very valid point, and yes, it is something we are working on, and also looking at how to do it in a way that doesn't cause issues, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you to our lovely panelists. For coming, and I think we can. So the audience will be taking questions. Any questions from? Okay. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much. The session was really very interactive, and I think I've learned one or two things from the panelists. But I have something. I'm meant to believe that technology is meant to make things easy for us, but it doesn't come free. For instance, talking about gated estates. Okay, my house girl decides to go out. At the point of coming back into the estate, she doesn't have internet on her phone, and she has to be cleared at the gate before she could be allowed. Though they know her, but she doesn't have internet. What happens? Will she be denied access, or they will allow her to come in? How do we solve that riddle? I just no, thank you.
Okay, so for the security app, I know that it refreshes every few minutes, so you don't always have to be online. So let's say, for example, you book a guest, at some point it refreshes, everything drops, kind of, so when she's coming in, unless you're just raising that request now and you want her to come in now and then there's no internet, then there may be an issue. But I know that usually on the security app, that's for the guards. They just have a series of house A, Mr. Ubona, this code, they'll use the code, house B, just like that. So you have maybe like 20 depending. So it just keeps refreshing, so until that person comes. Yeah, so I think that is from our end, that's one thing that
Yeah, so I mean, so there's the ability to use codes near offline, but there's also the digital cards that we have, right? So if you use the digital cards, they are cards that can work with a smartphone that has NFC capability, or in conjunction with access control devices. So like one of our partners is ZK Teco. ZK Teco does physical access control devices, boom bars, turnstiles, and all of that. So one way to avoid that issue is to issue your domestic help a card, and that card you can configure and manage that card, whether it's valid, or you can invalidate it from your phone as the resident. And then every time she comes or he comes to the access point in the community, they just use that card. The information is in the card, not on the card, and when they scan it, it gives them access, right? So she doesn't need to have internet or whatever other means, right? Yeah, that physical card, that's why we actually designed it. Because if you have a domestic that you are sure is coming every day for 365 or maybe 300 days in the year, right? I wouldn't want to generate a code for them every day. I may forget to generate, I may not be in the house, I may not be accessible to do that code, or it may be inconvenient to do it. So as far as I know that that person is working with me over the long term, I'll just give them a card. I'll have the FM give them a card and set up a card for them, and they can come and go, and then the day they stop working with me, I just deactivate it. Yeah, so I think that answers the question as well. So either of those two options works.
Good afternoon. Oh, thank you for this section. I have two questions, or more like a clarity. When some of our panel we were talking about the energy, and I heard about you removing some what's it called? Some appliances from generator and all that. Does that really reduce diesel consumption? Because I know there was a time in my facility we considered that, but I found out that there was a time that I discovered that we're having issue with people not paying diesel bill, and so enforcement, somebody just suggested I don't give them, like I say, if you don't give them generator power, that does not reduce the diesel consumption, because the generator will still produce the kilowatt and the diesel conversion will still be consumed. So we couldn't just enforce that, say that will not pay us. My second question is, when you were talking about property insurance, an idea just came to me, because I actually had to deal with a situation yesterday with one of our residents that moved in like 2 years now, and the mixer tap got spoiled yesterday. And then my company policy is that you fix whatsoever that inside your house that is due to wearing and tearing, you fix. And it was like, how is he going to buy the tap that he has been buying flexible connector, pump connector, but when it comes to mixer tap that is over 10,000, how is he going to buy it? Then he made mention something. When I was coming in, you people collect from me damages, the caution fee, now. So I'm thinking, does VENCO have property insurance platform? And this is my idea, that if such happen, the landlord can actually pass such fund to the facility management. Facility management puts it under the resident property insurance platform, that within the period of time that such thing happen, you just take from that fund to fix it. When the fund finish, you will be alerted that your damages so thing have finished. So it's now depend on either you should fill in more money or we start taking up the responsibility. Because it was, and I had to be straight to him yesterday and say, sir, I live in an apartment and I've changed my tap several times. I don't go to my landlord to come and buy tap for me. So I'm just thinking if something that is possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This question has to be answered by this.
Okay, so your first question had to do with the diesel consumption when people power down. Effectively, your generator has a base consumption if you have one house active on it, or if you have the peak load on it. So because, for example, I've changed the tariff in the location from maybe 140 to like 192 per kilowatt. They're going to power down the heavy heaters, right? They won't use water heaters when they're on gen. Unlike when they're on the grid where they know they can put on all the ACs, they power down those things. What happens is that gen is running at X naira per kilowatt, irrespective of how many people are vending. So maybe the generator is costing me the FM 200k an hour, and then people have powered down to the point where they're only consuming 80,000 an hour. It becomes a loss. You understand? That's what I was talking about, where people are actively trying to save money. But I'm not going to buy 8 different generator sizes just to cater to, how many people. We don't even buy generators. We just advise the developers to have maybe 2 or 3 and have them synchronized. But at times, weekdays, daytime, there are minimal, low demand periods where you would lose money. And then when you have prolonged blackout periods as well too, where people are saving money, you have people starting to, they realize that I've spent 30K in a day already. This is not working. They power down. But your gen will still have the minimum it will consume. That's what I was referring to.
Yeah. So I think he's kind of answered it. How to manage gens in terms of sizing is a bit difficult, because there's something called, I'm trying not to turn this to an energy conference, but there's something called a load profile. Right, so in the afternoon it's lower, maybe people are away, and then at night it's higher. Now, if you have limited resources and you can't have a gen for every load profile, you have to just buy 1 or 2 gens. So the truth is that at some point, or at every point, there will be a certain amount of wastage, happening. So naturally, it's to the benefit of the community that they are loading the gen as much as possible, every time. But that can't always be the case, right? Now, one way where it might be helpful is if, for example, you do away with the gen entirely, but you use solar, for example, for essential services, so like water pumps, communal things like that. Then it means that during the day when the inconvenience of no power might not be as high, right, then you're not using gen, you're not burning diesel, you're now doing solar. But of course, we also know that solar is not free. There's a high upfront cost, to getting on it. So it's just a trade-off between, very different options. Now, to the thing around insurance. So this is really why we partnered with Curacell, and very soon on the platform, residents in communities will be able to, subscribe to these products. Now, I know that some communities already, as part of their service charges, there's a component of it that is supposed to be insurance, but that insurance is for the communal. It's not for inside your house. It's for communal, services or assets. So what we are trying to do is to formalize that and then to bring it to the household, because in fact, as you spoke, the use case you talked about now hasn't, or at least to me, I don't know about the rest of the team, hadn't occurred to me. So I was looking more at, insurance for regular household things, but lots of repairs occur in houses, lights are being changed, small items, and all of that, and that spend sometimes can be inconvenient. And I think it's an excellent use case for if I'm automatically paying a premium for my household content every month, then it covers the cost of any of those types of changes, even when sometimes it's the bigger, the more expensive ones. That's the whole idea of insurance. You pay a little bit, but you may not get the benefit immediately, but the day that you need the benefit, it's there for you, right? And to be honest, these premiums are not, they're not, they won't break the bank, for you, especially when you can now pay them monthly, right? Yeah. So I think it's a really good use case for pushing that thing. So replacement of spoiled items, broken items, within the property unit, it makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll take 2 questions and we're good. 2 questions, 1 and 2, so we're good. So please, I think we'll have to write your questions and we'll take care of them later. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so my property and I were relatively new to VENCO services, but I was wondering if VENCO has, because I know the check meter, tenants can load and then you can of course monitor your tokens and how it's used. Does the same thing apply to the app? Is there a place in the app where real time they can, even if they are away from their residence, they can always check and monitor their usage, and not wait until probably the end of the month or something to now request for a statement and then track it.
Yes, so I mean, first of all, VENCO does sell prepaid utility meters, right? So they are not check meters, they're smart meters. However, we work with any prepaid utility meter as far as it conforms to certain standards, right? In the scenario where you are using our own meters and the variant of the meter that you have purchased is the one that allows you to do that real-time reading, then yes, on your VENCO app, you will be able to see real-time readings. You will be able to see your current month spend, your last month spend, the remaining units on your meter, and so on and so forth. So yes, that is available, but the caveat is that you're using our meters, and it is the variant of our meters that have this communication capability. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So my question is, a couple of weeks ago, we got an email from VENCO as regards ITD, and in my community, we sent an email to educate people so that they can upgrade their meter. But the question is, some people are asking that if the KCT does not work with their meter, the implication is that the token will not be able to load on the meter again. And my residents are always asking, who bear the cost of a new meter? I was like, that's why we've been actually holding back to get back to VENCO on getting KCTs to upgrade most of the meters. We've done some check on some few meters which worked, but because we got that according to the email, it stated that some meter might not work on the when you are upgrading them. So the question is, I cannot buy a meter of 170,000 naira. It's not my fault. I don't want to upgrade my meter. And we went as far as telling them that, do you remember year 1999, year 2000, the computer softwares are changing and all that. So they are still held strong, and that's why we are still holding on that. And my second question is, the insurance stuff, I had always had the idea in my mind, and for as long as a year ago, like, insurance is a business of numbers. I believe you agree with me. And if VENCO can put up a platform like HMOs, like health insurance, which make you have good health insurance and pay less, and I think that might work on properties. Like property, if you consider now that many people don't actually buy insurance in Nigeria, and it's really bad. And the way the homes are, the way we are developing homes now, homes are built like terraces are built like in a row, and if a house catch fire, it can easily spread, and it will damage so many people's property, and it won't be nice. I just think that we should look at insurance in terms of HMO kind of way scheme, like it will be more easier and easy to pay. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks for those comments. So I'll start with the insurance one first. Yeah, so that's the whole idea behind, the insurance partnerships that we're doing, because these communities are more and more integrated, right? The whole basis, what gives us confidence to continue in this business, is the fact that when you drive down Lekki Ekpe Expressway, a new estate is being built every day, right? When you go to Abuja, it's all estates. When you go to, the predominant way to deliver real estate now is in multi-family type, units. And of course, it's because land is expensive. People want the security of community and all of those types of things, right? So if people are building in more and more integrated formats, it also means that there is risk, right? Because the thing that affects my neighbor very likely may affect me, right? So in that case, it makes it even more urgent and relevant that there's some sort of protective platform, So an insurance is the way that, over years people have been able to get these types of protection. So again, it's something we are going to be pushing very hard on, right? And I think it makes sense. It's very clear what the benefits of that will be. And in fact, it's I can tie it into the other topic that you raised, which is the TID rollover, right? So the TID rollover is a kind of year 2000 event that is going to happen with prepaid meters next year in November. And ideally, it shouldn't be a big deal. So ideally, you should be able to generate a special set of codes on the meter and upgrade the meter. But not every meter, was built to allow this type of upgrade. And in some cases, if you attempt that upgrade, it may make the meter, not functional. So the way that, VENCO has a number of product offerings, right, that can help to mitigate, those challenges. One of those offerings is that you can do financing for meters. So when it comes to the point where it is clear that those meters have to be replaced, right, you can actually get those meters installed by VENCO, and you're using our platform to vend, and then we'll recover the cost of those meters over time. That way you don't have to cough up the bulk amount. So we've done this in quite a number of communities, and we're very happy to discuss that if that's an option. Of course, that's only the last resort. One of the first things that we've advised in our advisory on this topic is that you take the meter that you have and you speak to your manufacturer, the manufacturer of the meter, so that they confirm to you whether this, this is a risk. The risk of this meter is not working properly, is there, assuming you attempt to upgrade. So if they then establish that there is a risk, then we are happy to sell you meters and then finance some of those meters, right? Should it be that the cost of replacing all of them is very high for you. Now, a use case for insurance would have been that if you guys were doing communal insurance and there was a small part of your service charge, very small part, that every month was just being, taken as a premium, you understand, to pay to an insurance company. This might be an insurable event where, I've bought a meter that is supposed to, be able to do this, but it's not able to do that. Then can my insurance cover it? So that might be, an option. And I think it's also an option that is even more relevant for more catastrophic events. So for example, if you have a generator that breaks down, right, if that generator is insured by the community, then they replace these long conversations that happen where endless estate meetings are held about, okay, how do we need to tax ourselves now to replace the generator, and all of that might become unnecessary, because already you have insured for that, possible eventuality, and then they just replace the generator and all of that. So again, I think just being aware that of a lot of things that are happening around, like ease of accessing insurance now, all these shared economy things that we've been talking about, and the fact that there's now a platform that many people in the community use in common, it creates an opportunity to remove a lot of the risk that communities face, and also to give them a better deal, with respect to certain activities that happen within communities. And this is something that we're going full steam ahead on to make sure happens.
Okay, so good afternoon. On my side, my name is Olu Rahim. I represent a company called Scandic Lion. We build residential apartment buildings. There's been a lot of talk about power, but I'm also interested in knowing your views of regards of water and the management. I know that VENCO also has meters, and maybe a question too for developers. What's your advice in how to prepare for some of these adoptions of best practices or new technology? Thank you.
Okay, regarding water, we have experience. We have several developer clients as well, and they're learning to evolve based on our experiences as the operators to now start introducing prepaid metering into each residence. There's a lot of waste when which residents not metered, usually from domestics. They're washing cars and suddenly they can't be bothered to switch it off. They're landscaping and just leaving water to waste. And then when it comes to the end of year financial analysis and you're seeing water bills, some people are telling you, well, I don't even stay in this place, why is the bill so high? we've been trying to get some clients to retrofit, introduce the meters late down the road, and it's a difficult conversation. But we're now at the point where a lot of our clients are now introducing prepaid meters as part of what they sell to the client as a product. Once it's prepaid, I mean, if you choose not to scream at your domestics and you're happy to spend 50,000 a month on water, I mean, fine, we're happy to receive your money as well and, transfer it. So it's something that wasn't happening before, where individual residences were metered for water. But I think it should be a minimum requirement for any product for developers right now. I agree. So metering is critical. Also, we also try and encourage people not just to use direct hoses, to use nozzles. Introducing nozzles with car washing, with landscaping and all, ensures that you're not using that much water, but you still have the same pressure effect on it, as opposed to just splashing water recklessly. So yes, prepaid is the way to go as well. Definitely.
That's all. Is that good? Yeah.
How to maybe
Okay, during the development stage. Yeah.
How to pass the water into each apartment, and which is a bit more expensive than you would normally do. But is there other maybe best practices when you've actually started charging people for prepaid?
Again, first off, as you said, design stage, it's very important. When you're not running the prepaid system, you have multiple sources, entry points at times into the same property. Right. When you run a prepaid system, everything has to come in from the first point and distribute within the system. So there's the design intervention right at that point. What we also try to do is, for some of our locations where there's prepaid metering, they're on the water board, they're on the grid. Not necessarily Lagos, but like Abuja and thereabouts. And what we've now had to do is encourage developers in design stage for landscaping and communal water to take it off the water board and create its own circuit to a borehole. Because places like Abuja and the north can be very, very difficult on landscaping in the dry season and Harmattan. So it's another intervention to where, for the domestic water and other usage where they need treated water of a higher standard, it runs through the metering system. But you don't want to be spending so much treating water and it's just to water plants as well too. So again, it depends on if you're going vertical or if it's horizontal. How you implement some of these changes. We could still have an aside too. You're not looking very happy yet.
I am.
Okay, so I believe somewhere in this event we are going to be launching a book, which is how to run a multi-property estate, right? And some of these things have been there, at least from some of our learnings as VENCO, the conversations that we've had with people like yourself, like Myrowa, and like many of the other customers here, and we've tried to take that and condense it and summarize it into an ebook, right? And some of the quick ones off the top of my head, I think Myrowa has addressed the water issue excellently. The metering issue, for example, for energy, right? So it's not just about having meters, prepaid utility meters, it's also about the placement of those meters. Is the difference between every day sending out patrols to check whether bypass has happened or doing analysis on bypass and just not having to do that, right? So for me, best practice today is to either centralize meters somewhere away from the properties or have them somewhere in front of the property that is accessible to whoever has to maintain those meters. Then of course, one other best practice is the adoption of technology itself, especially technology that can ease the accounting side of the operation of a community, as well as what we've already seen around access control and all the other areas. But seeing where a large portion of the costs, monthly cost of living in these communities is around utilities, right? Then a lot of best practices have evolved there, that help with just how you position those things, the types of devices that you use and all of that, to make sure that cost is equitably apportioned? Because I think one of the main issues that people have and that causes trouble in communities is unfairness, or the perception of unfairness. It can be very disruptive to a community, and just these simple devices, prepaid utility meters, have helped a lot to make that a non-issue in many communities. But I won't say more, so I think you should get the book, and we are not selling it, it's free, you can download, right? And we've said so much more as to best practices for running communities.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together for our panelists. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, we have further questions will be addressed. Okay, let's let the panelists have a picture. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point we're moving to the zenith of this event and really getting to understand that we've learned much of what VENCO Africa stands for. And before we go further, we'll play a game. We'll play a very quick game. And are you ready? Before we go into playing the game, we'll have to call Mr. John, because as far as I'm concerned, VENCO Africa is wearing a new look, and so Mr. John will have to explain to us the new identity for VENCO Africa. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would want to thank so much for okay. So let's watch this video and then I'll come back to us. So I'm back to where I started. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to say thank you again for spending your afternoon with us. I mean, it takes a lot to get everybody in Lagos, a city as crazy as Lagos, to spend the hours that you spent with us to listen to what we have to say. I'd like to say thank you to the panel that just left the stage, a very insightful session. For everyone who has been a part of our journey, who has been a part of our family, you've used our app, you've been to our website, you've had conversations with us, even if you are yet to use our platform, there's something different about how today feels, right? There are new colors, new vibrant ambience everywhere, right? And that's one of the things we wanted to communicate today as well. What we saw as the video that just played was a snippet of where we're heading to as a brand. So recently rebranded our identity at VENCO, and I think I'm excited to say that everybody here today, you all are the first to see what we look like right now. So I think that's something to be excited about. But I'm also excited to say that we're not just stopping at the visual identity, right? And that was not why we even started. This was a journey that came from us consistently thinking about the things that really matter to us, why we do, why we give the amount of times that we give into the work that we do, right? And we realized that it's more about how much we care about the people that we're doing it for, and that's why we rebranded our identity. Something that's very unique about what we look like right now is the fact that we're really simple, right? Even though they're vibrant colors, very aesthetic element, very simple. And that's because we wanted to take away all the distractions from everything that is VENCO right now, right? And focus on the things that really matter to us. And that is you, everybody who is here today. The community admins, the facility managers, the developers, housing enthusiasts, even residents, right? You are the reason we wake up every day to put in the hard work that we put in to make the work that everybody's talking about today. And we're really excited that right now we have an identity that really shows what we're really passionate about. We have an identity that removes all of the noise and allows us to focus on building for you. I'd also like to wrap up to say that the session we've had today, all of the sessions, were not just to talk about the technology that we're building, right, but to talk about the people that we're building them for, right, and also to let you know that we're doing this from a place of care, we're doing it from a place of wanting to add value to the industry, and we're really excited and we're really honored and we are blessed, yes, to see that you were kind enough to spend your afternoon with us. I think that deserves a round of applause for every single person who is here, and we look forward to sharing the next months with you on this journey and exploring all of the new experiences that are coming to the VENCO platform. Thank you so much. I would like to hand over now to the MC if it's here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for John. Thank you very much. Like I said, at this point we've come to the apex of this event, and like I said earlier, for those who had questions, we weren't given the opportunity because of time. We can still interact later on and you get your answers. But at this point, I think we have to play a game. We want to play a game. Please, I'd like you to get your phones out. Please, let's. So you just scan the QR code, and you fix in the code. So you put your details in, so we can play a game together. Yes, everybody, let's do it together. And yes, just scan the QR code. There's going to be a prize for the winner. It's very important. There's going to be a prize. Or you can also use menti.com if you have issues with the QR code. Menti.com. And put in the code 65340843. It's going to be a very huge prize. Yeah. The winner of this game is going home with a brand new iPhone 14 charger. Hallelujah. Thank you. Are you ready? Okay.
So we can see how many people have joined, and we really want it to be an exciting. Trust me, you're going to be excited to play that game. If you're not able to join or scan the code from where you are, you could go on menti.com, menti.com, and input a code that gives you access to the game we're about to play. So the code is interesting. We have 22 people on there now. Nice. So there's 65340843. All right, and we'll start right about now. So I'll give you the mic.
Are we good? So the first question, right? This first question is, please let's have the code one more time. QR code. Or you can use menti.com. Six five 65340843. Are we there? 65340843. So the first question is, which system helps manage visitor access and security in facilities? So you have 15 seconds and it's counting already. So you answer your devices. We're going to know the winner right away. You heard the gift is very huge. In facility management, what does SLA typically refer to? Next question. Which of the following is not a key responsibility of a facility manager? Wow. Okay. What is the primary goal of preventive maintenance in facility management? Okay. Good. If you know you are this person, raise up your hand. Because we need to know. It's as if you are not listening since morning. What is this? Okay, let's go. The next question is, which FM software helps in tracking work orders and maintenance schedules? This is great. Okay, these are the winners. Who is magical part of the company? Not lie is out. Let's ask our own question. What is the capital of Anambra? No, how can you? No. Who is the second person? Let's see the second person. Who is the second person and the third person? So we'll know from there. Who is Winston? You have a brother or sister here? Please put your hands together for him. And the third person. No, the third person. Clippy. And these names are really... Clippy, who's Clippy? Clippy? So I think we'll just give the gift to the first and the second. The second and third. No, we don't have. I don't think we have. No one has identified as third. So we have the first and the second. We give them the gift. Are we good? The third person should indicate then. Please come out. First and second, come out as you receive your gift. Yes. Tom. Who is Tom? Tom. Winston. Okay. So we have Winston and Magical Rhino. So we'll get your gifts. Yes. Please put your hands together for them. So, shake yourself. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for them. Put your hands together for them. They've been amazing. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a very big thank you. Like I said earlier from the beginning of the event, a very big thank you to everybody who has found time to come through to make this event a success, and also our very interactive minds. Thank you very much to all the speakers, interactive session, the questions and answers, the product demo, every activity we had today, every item, including the tea break. Everything was amazing. Thank you very much to VENCO Africa for making today very possible. I said earlier, my name
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. So right now we have a very brief session. Earlier when we had the panel session, Chidi spoke about the fact that we had a book, and that book is free, right? That's the most interesting part. So there's no way we have something free for you and you don't get it before you leave. And so I'm just going to speak a little bit about why we have this book and some of the things to expect from it. Some very interesting conversations and questions that we had during the sessions, were things that sort of solidified the ideas that we had. So even though we have built, a system that's designed to, make your work easy as admins in your communities, right? Something that is very big, that's a trend that we're seeing, is a continuously increasing demand for efficiency in these estates, right? And no matter the amount of tools that you have, the very thin line between delivery and not delivering, regardless of the technology you have, is competence. So that's why we've put together this book. And it's not just a book for you to read. Very interesting thing about it is the amount of resources that are on there as well. This has taken months of research, and has gone through experts, some of the people that have also had time to speak to us today, review these things, people who have worked and delivered exceptionally well in communities that they've managed. And what we've done is we've put all of this expert knowledge together, all of this research works together, and from the data that we've also pulled from communities that we are serving at the moment, to create something that would then be very useful to our community. Like I said earlier, we're doing this to show that everything we're building, everything that we're giving, is from a place of trying to create more value, and not just to say, oh, we've built something. Right, so something that you find in the book that we've launched and that we're launching today, and that you have access to download, is tons of templates. Earlier today there was a question that was very particularly interesting. Was speaking to the fact that how about estates having regulations, rules that are available for everybody to see, and while this may look like something that is cliche, it's not readily available for a lot of people, right? It can be work for you to now put these things together. So what we've done is we've created templates, and these templates are rich from resources, experiences that we have. We've put case scenarios in there that you may not consider, right? And all you have to do basically is to take this document, drag and drop, copy them, customize them for whatever reasons you want to do, and we've literally removed 90% of work that you have to do, right? So if there are one or two use cases that are peculiar to your estate, you could add those, but what we've done is we've removed all of the work and research that you have to do. But that's just one of the multiple templates that we have. We also have accounting templates, all sorts of things, maintenance schedule templates. So, and what this does is it makes, so whether you're the community admin or you have people working for you in your team, anybody who joins your team can really hit the ground running as soon as they join, right? Because they have all of these resources, at their fingertips. They don't have to spend so much time researching and putting these things together. So I'm really excited to also come back here to let you know once again that we're doing all of the things that we're doing because we really care about the people that we're building for, and that's why we've put this out there. And this is one of the many resources that you're going to be receiving from us, from reports to different kind of materials that just gives you insights into what is changing in this world that we currently live in, what is changing, and what kind of tools are available that you can use to your advantage to deliver exceptionally well in the communities that you manage. So right now, if you look at the screen here, and also the one at the back, and also there's a trifold pamphlet that has been given to everybody who came in today. You'll find a barcode that you're able to scan. Once you scan that barcode for free, you have access to this book. You can download the PDF right now and you can start reading it. You have access to all of the templates I'm speaking about. There's so much more that I haven't even talked about, but you find all of those on there. There's a summary in case you're wondering what is embedded in that book. There's a summary on there as well that will give you a hint of everything that you find in that book, and it's been done in a seamless way where you don't have to read from top to bottom, right? You could find and scroll and jump through chapters, right? So if you have a particular situation that's really tormenting you right now, you could be like, oh, I find this thing really interesting. I've had a similar situation recently, and you could jump onto that chapter, read all of the materials that are on there, have access to the resources, whether they are links or templates that you could use to work right away. So again, like I said, I'm really excited to be sharing this with you from the team, and I hope that you found this as a very valuable resources and another confirmation again that would really care about all of you. Thank you so much, and I'll give you the next few minutes to try and access this. If you have any challenges downloading the book, please feel free to reach out to me or any of my colleagues that are here. You would easily identify us on our VENCO t-shirts. And let us know how that goes for you. Thank you so much. I'd like to pass the mic back to the professional. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's not forget to interact via social media with the hashtag the future of real estate. Please let's keep hashtagging on X, the Twitter and also Instagram, the future of real estate, and also hashtag VENCO launch. Let's do that. Let's put up our pictures. Let's make us trend. Thank you very much. God bless you. Please, you can take pictures in the photo booth. Every picture you take here, we should see VENCO in the picture. So when we hashtag it, it's real. Please, the photo booth.
I'm not moved by what I see. I know who I be. I just want my peace, make money, yeah. I go get everything I need in my own timing. Koni kojami, koni dide. So many people deny.
Please, we can go back to the previous slide so people can access the code to download the book. Please don't forget, every picture that's taken there, the photo booth is available. Every other picture should have the background of VENCO Africa, the future of real estate. Thank you.
Like it's nothing. Party no they stop when we pop. Yeah, we are plenty spending. Like it's nothing. Me I know they for free, cause Oluwa don't consign me. I know they put my foot, no consign me. Kinda slow, but I'm always on timing. Say my eyes don't see many things. See me.
Hi everyone, just to catch your attention for 1 minute, right? So if you look at the packs you have these trifold flyers, right? At the back of it, you find a barcode. So it also gives you access to this. So in case you need to share this with anybody in your team that you work with, you can actually just give them to scan this code. You get an email with all of these materials and information as well, just so that you don't miss it and you can easily share to people that are in your team. So thank you so much for spending your day with us, really. We do not take it for granted, and we're really excited that we're really excited about the conversations that we had today. And we're looking forward to sharing the experience that we're building out across our VENCO verse with you. So thank you so much. There's a photo booth to take pictures, and the pictures will be accessible after now. We'll send emails, like we said again, to access all of the pictures that we've taken through this event. So thank you all so much, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Like it's nothing. Party no dey stop when we pop. Yeah, we are plenty spending. Like it's nothing.
I'm a resident of Pine Water Gardens too. I came to know about VENCO sometime last year. I used it as an administrator when the facility management left us in the dark, and then VENCO came to our rescue. So we used it as an administrator, and then I'm using it as a resident now. Oh, the resident app, I use it to book visitors. I use it to pay for my electricity, and I use it to pay for my service charge, and then report issues if any. So I'll start with the biggest one, the most amazing one to me. I do not have to interact with the security as much anymore, because when I need to book visitors, I book it via the app and they just come in, so I know who's coming in. And then 2, I can get my electricity tokens easily. So I just pay for electricity, get my tokens via the app, input it, and that's it. And then I use it to pay for my service charge every month. So it makes the process seamless. Also, less interaction with management. There was a time where the security phone stopped working. Because I was using the app, the phone they use for the app is totally different, and I was able to book my visitors. I didn't have to think about the new number that they had changed it to or anything like that. So it made my life easy that day. No hassles, no issues, nothing. So yes, it really came to the rescue that day. I would recommend it 100%. It makes your life easy, totally easy. I'm not even lying. It makes it easy. You can book your visitors easily. You can pay for electricity easily. You can pay for your service charge easily. You can report your issues easily. Everything becomes seamless. So I would recommend it 100%.